This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talks. Are you serious? Right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. We're streaming live this morning on Facebook. Many sources on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. The show will be repeated today at noontime on Roku. So welcome to all you Roku viewers. You won't see us live, but you do get to see all the action. And thank you also to the groups, obviously, to let me share. And we'll have a plethora to share them to today because we're going to be all over the board with a little bit of Deshaun Watson talk. And I'm just fired up over this whole thing again. We'll talk some NBA coaching and Major League Baseball manager news. We'll talk a little bit about both the NHL and NBA playoffs. Hopefully we get to all that. We got a lot to talk about. So if we don't, we'll certainly get to it on Sunday's Stream of Consciousness as well. And one quick note, please do not forget to check out the Dream Ride experience. Northeast Streaming Sports is a huge sponsor of this event. And it's a great event, a great cause, raising money for the Homeland. Jesus, I do this every time. The Homefront Foundation. $3 million last year, $18 million overall. So watch this promo real quickly. It's only 30 seconds, and I'll be right back, and we'll have Carlos Chavez, the Mad New Yorker, join us right after that.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
All right, great experience. Try to get down there. I'm going, depending on the weather, and gosh, I still haven't checked with my social secretary what my calendar looks like that weekend, but we'll see what we can do. I'd like to get down there on that Saturday. I think it'd be a lot of fun. So again, lots to talk about today. We're gonna start off, I think, with Deshaun Watson, but let's get in our esteemed colleague, Carlos Chavez, the Mad New Yorker. Good morning, Carlos.
Good morning, Keith. How you doing, man? Good morning, everybody.
Very good. Good morning, Dave Guyette. Saying good morning this morning, and he's, of course, always go Yankees, Yankees baseball. So they're kind of boring to talk about right now. So just kidding. There's just so much else to talk about. We can't get into the Yankees right now. So lots going on in the world of sports, Carlos. Obviously, with the NBA Finals in full gear and NHL Stanley Cup playoffs in full gear. The Rangers have the Lightning right where they want them. The backs to the wall. We'll talk about that as we go through the day. I want to talk about some of the managerial firings and maybe some other managers in trouble and even the NBA coaching situation. But let's start real quickly because I have to get this off my chest again. Deshaun Watson can't keep his name out of the news. You know, I did a vlog right after the Browns signed him, and I was ripped royally in some of the Browns groups I posted this to because I said this was a horrendous mistake by the Browns. I still said, and have said from the very beginning of these allegations starting, that he would never play in the NFL again. And I believe, and I'll say this right up front before we start our conversation, that the NFL needs to take a strong stand here and not suspend him for X number of games this year. He needs to be banned from the league for this league to send a message to these guys that you don't have a ticket to do whatever you want. So let's start there. I mean, start with the situation. Listen, where there's smoke, there's fire. 23 at numbers 23 and 24 are out there now. So
Yeah,
Where
but
are we right now in your mind, Carlos?
so the New York Post reported the other day, about almost 2 days ago now, that Deshaun Watson has said to seen 66 different women for massages in a span of 17 months.
How many?
66. Now, okay, like put that number aside. These masseuses were vetted by the team themselves, and they were sent, and these meetups were at different hotels or whatever. So the team knew about what was going on as far as him getting these massages. They should hold some responsibility. I've said this before on a ton of different shows, on even Mac and Jack. I even told Robert Butler, if there is a consequence, it should be given to both the team, the Houston management, as well as Deshaun Watson, because he didn't do this alone, right?
Wow,
so the price has to be paid, and if people are going to get in trouble, it shouldn't just be the perpetrator.
Well, how are the Texans responsible for his personal behavior in a
because
massage?
they vetted they even went out to vet and had paperwork signed for these people to do massages for Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they knew what was going on. Even if it was a legit situation, they're trying to wipe their hands clean by getting rid of him. They threw him under the bus to begin with, to get rid of him in Texas.
I know. You're telling me they set him up 24 times, 66 times in your mind, 24 times.
No, look, if he asked for masseuse once every month, whatever, like, fine. But they knew about it. This is information that they have, right? So the information they had, they used against him when he wanted to get out of there. They found a way to get rid of him, and they also found a way to throw him under the bus, so they didn't have to pay him.
I don't know. That seems like a reach to set him up that way. I mean, he seemed to be getting himself in trouble all by himself. So
right, I'm not saying that he didn't have anything to do with the situation. What I'm saying is that the team, the Texans, knew about what was going on. Whether there was things that were illegal going on, who knows how far that went. But they knew that there were 66 masseuses meeting him in hotels.
Well, that happens. I mean, masseuses travel. I mean, they do that. They have travel teams. I've had them myself.
Right. So that gives them information that they used against him to get rid of him in Texas when he wanted out. Had he signed a contract to stay, I'm not sure we would be talking about the situation.
Just so I can be clear, and again, I do want to focus on Watson here, but to be clear about your comments about the Texans, you're telling me that the Texans set up the appointments for these masseuses. I think it's masseuses is plural, but also knew that they were going to try to incriminate him in this type of behavior. They were going to lead him up.
No, what I'm saying is that the Texans have information knowing that Watson saw 66 masseuses in 17 months. When Deshaun Watson wanted out, they tried to find every single which way to incriminate him on different things, and this was a loophole that they found. Okay. Because they knew somebody had to know that he was doing something that was not legit.
Going to a legitimate masseuse is not a problem in itself,
right? But if it's just like saying, Deshaun Watson goes to the same bar every single night, and then he gets a ride home, and the NFL and the team knows about it. The NFL team knows about this, right? So they don't know what he's been drinking or they just know he takes a ride every night. So all they have to do is ask the driver or ask somebody that's with him, saying, "Hey, this guy's totally was more than inebriated and has a dealer that rides with me in the car." Simple. They can find small things about him. All I'm saying is that the Texans have information that they should be that Deshaun Watson was doing this, and they should get some kind of consequence as well.
Okay, it's a separate. I get it. I get that.
It's not just on Deshaun Watson.
Well,
right?
Yeah, it is. His behavior is on him.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is the way the situation blew up is not just on him, because the team has something to do with it as well. Which is what I'm saying, that the team has some kind of dealing with making sure that he wasn't going to leave Texas unscathed.
Let me clarify one thing for Rick Schrock. You might have committed the middle of my comment when I said I had them myself. I have a therapeutic massage once a month 90 minutes for my health benefits.
Yeah, if you go see a chiropractor, that's different, man.
That's all that happens. Every masseuse is not something that ends, in a happy ending here, guys. There are legitimate masseuses out there who, I feel like I'm saying that word wrong, but whatever. And Rick, by the way, does say good morning. And Carlos, he wanted to let you know his son was down your way he's going to the City Field for a festival today. So hope he has fun. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day for that.
It's been nice.
Just not having fun. Back to this situation. So let's take the Texans out of it. So let's go back to Deshaun Watson. He's responsible for his behavior.
Yes, of course.
What do you think? I obviously my thoughts on this are very strong. The NFL needs to take a stand. He needs to be banned for good. I think Ben Roethlisberger, with one incident, should have been banned. I think Ray Lewis, with what went on with him, should have been banned. The NFL never takes a stance on these things, ever. But we banned guys for letting air out of football, but that's a different situation.
That's not correct, because Ray Rice was banned and blackballed by every football team in the NFL.
Well, he wasn't suspended for life by the NFL, though.
No, but he was black. I believe that he was blackballed.
But that was the teams taking their own action. So, okay, I get that, right? And the NFL could have done it to Deshaun Watson, but the Browns and other teams were chasing him, even with all this going on. I say the NFL needs to step up. Forget about the teams. And Ray Rice is a good point, but the NFL didn't really do anything to suspend him for X amount of games. Maybe a season. I don't remember what Ray Rice.
And then somebody, Simeon Rice, I believe, who played for the Arizona Cardinals and then the Giants.
Okay, very few times.
Yeah, he had issues as well. That
Ben
the team
Roethlisberger, with one serious allegation, gets 6 games, So Deshaun Watson's got 24 allegations against him. I understand nothing's happened in a court of law. Nothing's even happened with civil cases. But there's something happened here. When I posted this before, and I will have a vlog again today that you Browns fans can rip me for. I was ripped by Browns fans saying, you can't say this guy's guilty. And I'm like, look, it was one person.
You can't, unfortunately, because it's not – because this stuff is coming out through the court of law. So – and
if this was one person, 2 people, I'd say, okay, whatever. Somebody's, but it's 24 people. So what are your thoughts? What should the NFL do here?
Well, okay, so the NFL has a huge problem with this situation, and as well as other players, they have to watch what they do and watch what they say and be careful what their actions are, because the consequences are going to go beyond just, beyond what happens in law, because this is their careers, correct? So, are they going to use Watson to set a precedent?
Well, that's a good question.
Because the thing is, just like Roethlisberger, he is a quarterback, right? He is a face of your franchise.
Yeah.
Right. So that is something that the NFL and the Browns will have to kind of come together and see if they'll do that. But I don't believe that's going to happen, because
I don't think the NFL needs to consult the Browns. I think the NFL needs to just take their own action. And playing into what you just said, Alan's got a really good point. Will the NFL take a look at what baseball did with Trevor Bauer and feel pressure to make judgment based on that? They should feel pressure to make a judgment based on that. And maybe
and the incident with Trevor Bauer is different, because even though he's claiming that they're both on the same page with the situation, consent, there was consent there. He got the book by the MLB. But I think it was the fact that Trevor Bauer was going about it the wrong way, where he was going about it on social media, he was going about it on podcasts, and he was going about it to try to save his name, but not using the MLB PA, like the associations, like they have different guidelines for these players and athletes, and I think Trevor Bauer is just, as the character that he has, he just wanted to prove that he was in the right no matter what, and he put everybody's assistance and recommendations to the side, and I think that's kind of what got him caught in that wheel of just consequences, right?
Yeah. Besides the fact that, like Deshaun Watson, he's a despicable person who mistreats women. So
I mean, again, that's. If there was consent, Keith, and that situation happened, that's between the person and Trevor Bauer, and that's something that's private, that should be kept private. Unfortunately, she put it out there, he put it out there, and the consequence for him to try to save his name his own way got him suspended.
Yeah, there's some parallels there, but they're not 100% because there aren't 24 women accusing Trevor Bauer of this type of activity. So, listen, Deshaun Watson, this story's not going away. And the other part of this whole thing is if the NFL takes the action they need to take, what are the Browns going to do? How do you back up and say to Baker Mayfield now, we still want you, we need you? And if I'm Baker Mayfield, I'm kind of giving them a middle finger, but whatever.
I feel like Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, doesn't matter if they touch the field this year at all, whether they throw a pass, an interception, or even look at their teammate, they're still going to get the money. What they're saying and how they're saying about trying to be on the team and be a starter for a starting quarterback, that's, I guess, what you should say. But regardless of what happens to both of them, they're going to get money, man. It's guaranteed. Yeah. So I don't, even if Baker says, if he wants to throw his middle finger out or say no to the Browns, or
he has no choice if they want, he's got to play.
It doesn't matter at this point, right? So, but he should take the high road, right?
But disgruntled employees are not the best employees, and it's going to be hard for them to, for him to come back and be embraced if this goes sideways with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, he has an opportunity to take the high road, to save face, because his situation is bigger than him right now in Cleveland. And if he does that and plays his cards well, he could probably end up on a better team, maybe,
Allen talks about how he got sent home from the OTAs. I was surprised he showed up at all, to be honest with you. But there's more to come with this story. I mean, as we go through the summer and get closer to training camp and the season, it's going to be interesting what happens in Browns land. And
they have the Brissett, and then they signed somebody else recently.
Jacoby Brissett. Well, I don't know who the other guy was, but Brissett's probably going to be the backup. He's a capable backup, but he's not going to take it to the playoffs in 17 teams. I don't think.
Well, the Browns and like a lot of people that are commentating about what Cleveland has right now is Cleveland has a roster full of players that they can actually go to a Super Bowl with. They have a winning type of roster on paper now. This whole Watson thing, if they could just play with the players they have and not worry about Watson for this season, I think they're going to be okay. But if they're going to hang their hat on Watson trying to be on the field, then they're going to come to hard times, because at the end of the day, it's something that the quarterback, being who he is, the situation that they put him in, there has to be stability, and the coaches have to have stability. I mean, look at these guys that have seen coordinators and haven't done well at all. Marcus Mariota.
Look at this is exactly why the Browns should not have brought him in the first place, because of stability and, again, leadership at that position. Who's going to look to him to be a leader when this is what you're doing in your private life?
Like even Sam Darnold had a lot of different offensive coordinators. So
yeah,
and these guys were rated some of the top quarterbacks coming in after they get drafted. And we're considered smart guys who can pick up a playbook, but it's not just a playbook. You have to have a lot of esprit de corps. You have to have teamwork. Whether there's leadership or not from the quarterback, it could come from other places. There has to be stability for sure.
Right. And we're going to move on here, but Dave, you're absolutely right. He thinks he can do what he wants, and he's wrong. And you'll hear more about that in my vlog later today, which the Browns fans will hate.
It's like, but Dave, it's not just you think you can do what you want. It's the fact that he was given more rope to play with, and he believed that he was being protected by the Texans.
Don't blame the team for his personal conduct, please.
I'm just saying, it's like a parent. It's like a parent saying, yeah, no, my kid, he's okay, but that your kid drinks, that your kid's out playing hooky from school. Like at the end, yeah, the kid's the one who has a problem, but the parents didn't help him at all. You know what I'm saying? So. Well,
no, maybe the Texans didn't help him, but we're talking about a grown man here who ought to be able to help himself. And
yeah, but he might be grown, but he was still under the age of 27, 30, and most men and guys coming out of college, given all that money, are going to make mistakes. And I think the NFL banks on that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and most men that age who have these type of allegations against them end up in prison. Just an FYI. Anyway, more to come on that. This story is not going away. We're going to have lots more conversations, I'm sure, as this goes on. Let's move on a little bit. I want to say it's a happier It's not a happier topic, but it's probably a more fun topic to talk about. We'll talk about some of the managerial moves. We've got 2 managers fired so far. Maybe we'll talk about the NBA a little bit too, but I want to concentrate first on Major League Baseball and 2 situations that have had, listen, you know me, I don't think you should fire guys just for the sake of firing him. I do think Joe Girardi deserved to go. And in turn, I think Rob Thompson, who replaced him, is a guy who's been deserving of a chance in the major leagues for a long, long time. This guy has been served in Major League Baseball under a lot of capacities for decades. Gets his chance. It's worked out well. They won their first 6 games under Rob Thompson and kind of turned the ship around. That's still a bad team. It's still flawed, other than maybe they'll score some runs. But it's had a positive effect. The Angels fired Joe Madden. Doesn't have the immediate effect. They did break their losing streak finally last night. But, again, I think – in these 2 situations, I think the Phillies were right in firing Joe Girardi, and I think the Angels were wrong in firing Joe Madden. So where are you here on these 2 situations?
Well, I mean, the Phillies were like 22 and 29.
I believe when he got fired.
Yeah, when he got fired, and he was contracted to 2023, where the club could have picked up the option. So I think it was a money move and also a move to get Thompson to see what he's capable of, because he is a high quality type of manager that other teams were looking at.
He was a finalist for the Yankee job at 17 when Aaron Boone got it. Yeah,
right. So so a lot of teams were looking at him to hire him as a manager, anyways, including the Yankees. And a lot of people forget too that Girardi wasn't the only one that got fired. Bobby Meacham got fired too. So when they moved up, what they did was they moved up Calaterri to bench coach with Thompson. So that was another spot that got opened up on the team. But making those moves, it wasn't. We still have yet to see what's going to come about it. But that team is not made to succeed.
More than Robert Butler.
More than Robert. It's not made to succeed. So I mean, Thompson's going to will out some games out of these guys because, he's that type of coach, motivational. He's a very motivational guy. He can make some moves, but they need pitching, right? So it's like.
Well, again, firing the manager doesn't solve all the pitching issues, doesn't solve all the defensive issues they have. I get that, but Joe Girardi, the team he'd lost that team.
He never. I kept telling you that. He didn't even look like he wanted to be the coach there because it seemed like he didn't get any of the pickups he wanted this offseason in trades and free agency, right? So I think he was just frustrated since the beginning of the season. And we talked about this, like maybe he should just walk away, right? Well, and he got fired instead.
Yeah, who knows? He may have walked away eventually on his own anyway. At least
probably.
At least after the season, he probably would have, unless they turn things around. I don't think this will continue. This positive streak under Rob Thompson. I like Rob Thompson a lot. I hope they do well enough that he gets the job full time myself because I'm a big Rob Thompson fan.
Now the Phillies will have money to sign Thompson, but if I'm Thompson, and even though I'm getting this position as a manager, I'm gonna think twice, man. That's not such a great team to be on, to be honest with you. I mean, even though the ownership's willing to spend money. You saw that they had money they were willing to spend, and they didn't get any pitching. So you got to have balance, man.
Yeah, and again, this is a situation where a change of voice was needed, and it's had a positive effect so far.
Yeah, but that unless you get somebody in there to balance out all those hitters and get some better defense, that voice of change is just going to go silent at the end.
Yeah.
So that team needs to be. That needs some additions and subtractions for sure. So,
and the Angels situation's almost the same. I mean, they have a really good. They got 2 of the best players in baseball, Mike Trout and Ohtani. They got to be better, and then some of that's got to fall on Joe Madden. I get that, but they didn't improve his pitching staff really that much. They got off to a really strong start this year. They played very well. I had them picked for a dark horse candidate to make get a wild card in the American League. They fell on a horrible streak that he just could not end. But I think in the long run, this is a bad move for the Angels because I think he's the type of guy who would have turned this around. And this organization needs to get headed in the right direction. They need some stability in that dugout. They had Mike Scioscia there forever,
Yeah.
Right? And I got a feeling, this is going to turn into a revolving door of managers if they're not careful.
Yeah, and another team's willing to spend money but have an unbalanced roster, right? I feel bad for Madden in a sense where he's trying to use his players and trying to manage the game the way he's used to doing it. He's been telling people that he's been uncomfortable coaching with people screaming the analytics at him and trying to shove it down his throat. So it was just a bad fit, right? A new age team with the old school coach. It wasn't gonna, and there was no in between. And for him, look, he's got a roster of pitchers that half of them should be middle relief pitchers anyways.
Yeah, that's
Syndergaard is not really a starter. He's always done better coming off the bench when he was coming back from injuries in New York in middle relief. I don't know why they don't just stick him in the middle relief. His contract's too high for what he's getting paid, but that's my opinion. I'm just glad he's not on the Mets right now. Although he was,
the guy turns into a closer one day with his stuff. He'd be nasty out of that bullpen.
He's got a lot of tools, a lot of potential, but he shouldn't be a closer. I don't think he should be a closer.
Well,
the problem is that he gives off too many hits that if you don't have a great defense, it's not gonna help you.
What other situations you see in the major leagues? I see a couple that are tenuous, and I'll start with Alan's team because we've talked about Alan's Texas Rangers a lot on this show, or at least my show. Listen, this is a team still flawed, like we said early in the year. They had a nice streak here a little bit, for 2 weeks before this last week. He wants to see his manager go based on his bullpen performance. Listen, I think this team needs better pitching overall. They've got a couple of starters that have pitched well. Perez, and I forget the other guy's name now. Perez has pitched lights out. I mean, this guy will be a Cy Young candidate if he continues to pitch the way he's pitched. But this is a team that potentially needs a change of voice as well as some better pitching.
Alan, are you ready for Gallo to come back to your team?
Say that one more time.
Is he ready for Gallo to come back to his team?
No, I've offered to give him back to him for a bag of baseballs, and he hasn't offered. But there's some other guys too. I mean, in staying in the American League West, I think Scott Servais is going to be in trouble in Seattle. There was big expectations there before the season, and this team has not gotten off to a good start. 5 games under 500 and 10 games out of first place.
I think he's okay for the season, maybe even next season. Again, I think the management, the ownership in Seattle understand that they have a bunch of new faces.
We got for Gallo. He never hesitates to point out the guys he got for Gallo.
The young guys that they have. So I think they're going to give him an opportunity there in Seattle. But that's neither here nor. I mean, Seattle's maybe 2 players away from actually being a playoff team.
And they're young, and some of these guys got to grow into this. They miss guys like Seager retired, and he wasn't. He's not an all-world player, but he's the type of guy that teams miss when they just go away, and they need to get seasoned a little bit. I'm not surprised. A lot of times, younger teams, when they take a big step forward like they did last year, they have a little falter, the following year before they really kind of get it together.
Yeah, I mean, check out Toronto right now, and the issues that they're having. It's sometimes it is management and coaching, but sometimes it's ownership that's banking on 2 or 3 players that they're paying to hopefully pick up the team. And you have to understand these guys are young. So and if you haven't won any championships, that's even more difficult. That's even harder because you're asked to do something that you don't even know how to do,
Yeah. So, you mentioned Toronto, and interesting, I saw some rumors floating around this week.
Yeah, they might lose their coach. They might lose their manager.
Don't do what they are projected to do, which is to win the division, go deep in the playoffs. That Bud Black from the Colorado Rockies is possibly going to be flipped to the Blue Jays to be there. He's a really good manager, Bud Black, by the way. He's never had really good teams to it would be kind of the same situation with the Padres and Melvin, right? It would be that type of situation. And I could see that potentially happening if they fall on their face. Now, they've started to play much better baseball recently as well to get Montoya off that hot seat a little bit. But do you think this team will be in a position where they'll be looking to change managers? I think they'll play well enough that Montoya will keep his job.
If a coach like Manley and Buck are available, would you make that switch?
I'm not sure. I mean, if I win the division and go to the American League Championship game and lose it, or series and lose it, maybe I don't. But if I don't make the playoffs, well, Montoya's out of here because they're just too good.
I think that's what the Toronto's banking on right now. I mean, they've made so many moves, even moving some of their players, back to the minors and things like that. We'll see. The Toronto is a situation that that a lot of teams kind of that are in their position in the past have. Like you said, Baltimore's had that problem when Machado was on the team as a rookie, the second-year player.
Yeah.
The Athletics, the A's have had that issue before, that they had so many players and they were young, and and the Twins,
Yeah,
so it's baseball, man. It's 100 plus games, man.
It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? We're not even, a third of the way through the season, I think, but not even. Dave, to answer your question, look at my thoughts on Brian Cashman. They're playing well. They can't fire Cashman now, and if they win at all, Cashman's not getting fired. And I'll say unfortunately, but again,
as much as people don't like Cashman, the players have to perform on the
no, I get that, but he's the guy who put those players there. Right now, those players are playing well, except I still think there's some fatal flaws in this team.
Hicks and Gallo.
Some of the pitching lately. The pitching's been great. I don't want to knock the pitching, but they got two holes in the lineup in Hicks and Gallo that's got to be fixed. So anyway, I don't want to belabor the point there. Alan, who cannot get out of the state of Texas, he wants Ron Washington back.
That's an interesting case for Ron Washington.
I'm a little surprised he's never got another job.
He did his thing in Atlanta. He's there. He's not in a bad situation. He finally got a World Series ring.
Yeah.
He's a little bit older, long in the tooth, as far as does he want to go back on a grind with the team that's young? Because if there's any team that's going to pick him up, it's going to be a team that's young, not a veteran team. And there's really, now in baseball, the way you look at it, most teams can be considered veteran teams. Maybe they might have one or two veteran players, but the youth movement in baseball is actually, I think, what's making this situation for these managers difficult, right?
You see it with Tony La Russa in Chicago.
Yeah, and then the contraction of minor league baseball is actually starting to catch up to some of these guys. And the pitching, again, everybody needs pitching, but are the balls, juiced? Are they not? Are they, guys keep getting pegged with the ball. So there's a lot of little things that baseball has to clean up right now. And
clean up the ball. The ball's not a problem. We don't need 60 home runs out of 10 guys. I mean, that's all right to have 2-1 baseball games. You know that, right?
I mean, I don't. If you saw the Mets play the other day, and you're thinking what's going on, and some of these players, like the younger pitchers, are saying they can't control or they don't have a good fit for the ball, like it doesn't feel right for them. That should be taken into consideration.
Yeah,
because they're the guys who are throwing the ball at the end of the day. If pitchers are saying they don't feel comfortable with the ball and something's not right with them, then that's something that's important that Major League Baseball needs to listen to.
Yeah, there's a few other guys that would be in trouble. The only other, before we move on to the NBA real quick, I think Donnie Mattingly's situation in Miami is going to be tenuous, probably with a change in ownership again. Donnie's done a good job with what he's had to work with there in Miami, and he's a good manager. He did really well with the Dodgers, just never got to a World Series. I think Donnie will find himself in a better situation if he were to, end up leaving here, and hopefully he walks away on his own.
Right. That's our hope. That's been conversation in the past. A team like the Marlins are in transition, and Don Mattingly is a winning baseball coach, and he needs to be in a position where he could show that. And right now he's not. And it's only up to him and his agent to see what they can do, for the next few years, right?
Yeah, and another Yankee tie there, by the way. Mel Stottlemyre Jr. is the pitching coach there. He's done a great job with some of those young pitchers. So I hope both Donnie and Mel end up in a better situation than they have in Miami for sure.
Yeah.
Let's switch over to the NBA a little bit. I mean, there's still the Lakers filled their job, which was a little surprised that they went with the assistant that they went with. What was it?
Ham,
yeah. The Kings hire Mike Brown, which is, I mean, who's getting excited in Sacramento hiring Mike Brown? I mean, he's been around, without LeBron James. I don't think Mike Brown's done much of anything in the NBA. So that's a little strange move. But you got openings now in Utah with Quinn Snyder walking away. And I think he may take a year off and he'll be in great demand when he wants to come back. And I think
why do I see Quinn Snyder, like, if he comes back, go to like a big NCAA program?
Well, I don't know if he wants to go back to the NCAA, though.
I mean, he had 8 winning seasons
with Missouri,
with Utah. Like,
oh, I thought Sean when he was in college, right? He did a good job at Missouri when he was there.
Yeah, like and it's just at the end of the day, what do these guys want? It's up to them. What the agents have to offer them, what's available in the pros and in the college level. I mean,
I could see him taking one job in college. And that's if, God, I forget Coach K's predecessor's name now. Ex-guard played for him. It's skipping my mind. But if he fails,
at the Duke,
you'd have to be in the next couple of years. I can see Quinn Snyder taking the Duke job in a heartbeat. He's got ties to that program, obviously, as he was a player there and coached under Coach K for quite a while before he got his own head coaching job.
Yeah, I mean, so I think sometimes it's easier to just go back to the college ranks for some of these guys and just get back into like X's and O's. It's the whole situation with being an NBA basketball coach is it's not for everyone. And I think that's really like the evidence for these past coaches that are now in management or have gone back to the NCAA.
Where do we see the Jazz going for coaching? Are they going to go the assistant route, do you think, or do we go for an established guy and again, Mike D'Antonio's? He needs to go away.
Yeah, I mean,
there's some guys out there that are deserving of a second shot, like Kenny Atkinson, who never should have been fired by the Nets. And you've got Terry Stotts, who's out there. You've got some young assistants, not young assistants, ex-players who are assistants like Sam Cassell, who deserve a shot. Doug Christie deserves a shot, I think.
I mean, it's the Utah Jazz, right?
Coach too. Don't forget, we're going to get our first woman coach at some point. Somebody's going to pull the trigger, and it's very likely to be Becky Hammond. I think her name is from San Antonio. She's been there for quite a while now.
I'm gonna throw a name out there, Jeff Hornacek.
Jeff Hornacek, that's interesting. He did coach the Knicks, and who did he coach anywhere besides the Knicks? He did, didn't he? The Sixers. Yep. Didn't he coach the Sixers?
Not the Sixers, somebody else. But he's an ex-player, right? So
yeah, didn't have a great run with the Knicks, but he was in a bad situation there.
That
was a bad situation.
Hey, look, I don't want to bring up the Knicks. I don't like talking about them.
Well, I know you want Coach Tibbs out of there.
Yeah, I do. But my foundation and what my argument is, the Knicks haven't been a great team since Pat Riley left. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, they had a great team. Well,
I'm talking about great, like as far as a playoff team, consistently great, or a playoff team.
Yeah, they never won a championship. I don't know. But great. I'll call them.
For New Yorkers, that was a great time. That was good basketball.
I agree. I did a vlog last week about the anniversary of his hiring, and that was a great 4 or 5 year run. And it carried on. They made a mistake hiring Don Nelson after that, but then we got Van Gundy, which was kind of the same style basketball, and I thought he was pretty successful as well. Not as successful as Coach Riley, but
I'm talking about once they let him go. Look at what he's done in Miami. So
look at the money they spent on players, and look at the players he had to play with and win championships with.
But he had the same amount of opportunity here in New York.
In New York.
The problem was when he had the opportunity here in New York, there weren't that many players that were available that he had during the Miami run. If you think about it,
he never got the second guy that he really needed.
Yeah,
Michael had Scottie Pippen all those years.
Horace Grant, man. People.
And Horace Grant. But again, I'm talking about second minute. Now we got to have three guys, right? But that was a great, that was a great threesome. That's a great point. I mean, he had good players around him. Oakley was a good enforcer, right? But he just never had that second and third guy to help them take the.
Now, like, and I like Starks. I'm a big Starks fan, but he's not because he wasn't consistent enough.
There's a name that
John Stockton
Robert throws out as a potential
as a coach.
Stockton, that'd be interesting for the Jazz. I'm assuming
right.
That'd be an interesting way to go for the Jazz.
The question is, does John Stockton? He's a quiet guy. Does he want to go into coaching? And does he want to coach NBA players?
He's had himself in the news for some of his political views recently, but
the COVID stuff. He's been wearing a mask and not
banned from the Gonzaga games for life. I think I'm not sure, but again, interesting name. Scott Brooks, another retread. I don't see Scotty Brooks getting another job, to be honest with you. I know you like Scotty because he did a great job out there in Oklahoma.
And the ownership gave him that opportunity. That's another thing. The ownership gave him opportunity by allowing him to get players,
He also had three great players out there in Durant and Harden and Westbrook too. So that helps, So it's all good names to throw around, but interesting stuff.
I think, to be honest with you, I think Hornacek probably would have a bigger opportunity if he wants it,
He could be a Jazz possibility because he's certainly got history there as well and played on those really good, can't call them great teams. Unfortunately, they did goals, but
it's great for them. It's great for it was great for Utah though. I mean, to always be in the playoffs with Jerry Sloan's winning record. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, Jerry Sloan did a great job. One of the underrated coaches in the history of the game, I think, is Jerry Sloan for sure.
And they had players that were not great players, that were good players because of they were around Malone and Stockton,
Yeah.
There's like Russell and Ostertag, and they were underrated anyways.
He's another guy who just, his greatest teams were aligned at the same time. Michael and Scotty and Phil and Horace were all together in Chicago, and nobody was going to beat them. It just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, and if Hornacek doesn't come back as a coach, maybe he'll do something in management. To be honest with you,
possibly, yeah, that's possible.
Because I like what I like about Utah is they usually go and stay within the system, right? And they're pretty consistent and very conservative. So
agreed. Well, let's move on to the playoffs. We're in the NBA Finals. It's been an interesting series. The Warriors down 2-1. Mm-hmm. Had a huge lead in game one and just got blown out of the building in the fourth quarter, 40-16 to lose. Actually had it's the first two games in my mind. They dominated 4 of the 6 quarters. They ended up splitting the 2 games. Game 3 was really never in doubt that from what I could see. I mean, the Warriors made a couple of runs, but I don't know that they're going to win a game on the road here in Boston. And if Steph Curry, who got hurt a little bit, I don't know his status, he rolled his ankle again. That rolled his ankle, but a guy rolled up on him during a little chase for a loose ball. Without him, and again, there are times this team looks old.
Right.
And cannot with the speed of the Celtics, right?
Right. I mean, that's why Golden State has those players like Poole and Mooney to give them a little bit of speed. But you can see the age and you can see the speed on the court when they're going back and forth, and how Boston has one up on them as far as getting back into defense, which they kind of is what they're standing on right now, is that they played with some of the best defense in the NBA. And I saw they were talking about Smart in some of these other sports networks that if he averages 15 to 18 points a game, Boston usually wins those games in these playoffs. So yeah. I'm like, and I'm thinking if the Celtics are listening to this, they need to just shut their ears off because everybody on that team should average 15 to 18 points.
Yeah, I think
Tatum's going to get more, but if you're a Boston Celtic, your goal should be hit the court and get inside and play hard inside, because Draymond Green doesn't look like he's can take anymore.
He looks slow. I mean, unless he's mauling guys, he's not helping the Warriors a whole lot out there.
And the fact that he's doing those picks and trying to set up Thompson and Curry, he needs to stay inside more because Curry and Thompson, they need to use the speed more on the outside, and to attack on the inside. But they're giving Boston an opportunity to set up for defense once Draymond Green goes out there and is hanging around the 3-point line. I don't know why he's doing that. Maybe because he's tired. Maybe because he doesn't want to be on the inside. But that's not his forte, man. That's not what he's strong at.
He likes to throw those 3-pointers up, though, too. You know?
I know, but he doesn't need to. He doesn't. Not with this team, especially when you got Poole and Thompson that are trying to come back and hit shots on and off. But Steph, he's going to hit more than he's missing. But you're playing Boston, and Boston's younger than you, and you need to find ways to capitalize on that. And you need to be on the inside. If you're Draymond Green and Mooney, you need to be on the inside and stop trying to be around the 3-point line because that's not going to help your team at all.
Yeah, and the Warriors go as Curry and Klay Thompson goes. Klay Thompson's still not the player he was before he got.
Well, I mean,
he is in spurts, but not
right. And that was my question when I talked to you guys earlier this year. Like, he's just come back from injury. Yeah, he's shooting, he's dunking the ball, but is he 100%?
Yeah,
and
it's obvious.
And now that the season's almost over, you see that he's maybe 75%, 80%. And that's not a good time to show what
He's better than the average NBA player, but he's not the Klay Thompson before he got hurt, for sure.
Right. So my idea, and I guess my opinion is that Golden State needs to attack the inside because that will wear down Tatum and Smart. They will make them force them to play defense inside and then come back and go. But if they don't force the ball inside and make Boston play fast and quick inside, then Boston's going to just kill them with the speed and the youth that they have running up and down the court. You don't chase speed, man. You got to slow it down. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
and Alan talks about Curry planning on playing. I know he plans on playing. How good he's going to be and how healthy he's going to be is another question. Though that's the same.
If you put him out there,
he was out for 6 weeks with not long ago. So.
Right. If you put him out there, and you don't give him the ball, but you attack the rim, you'll be okay. But if you put him out there and you both trying to throw threes, you're gonna lose the game. Because even though these guys are good shooters, if you live by the three, you're gonna die by the three, man. I say that all the time, but it's like try to get the easy shots, and worry about the threes if they fall. But don't make that more than 50% of your shots, right?
Yeah, and I did miss a couple of comments from Robert on the coaching situation. Robert, I apologize. But they were basically following up on the Utah situation. Why not, give those guys a shot? Other coaches with no experience may not do as well. Talking about coaches, though, I think Steve Kerr is an interesting study here. I would not be shocked to see Steve Kerr walk away from this job because Steve Kerr's had some health issues through the years, serious back issues. I think he had COVID. He's had COVID a couple of different times. And, I watch him and I think to myself, he's a great coach. And I think he's still got the energy, but he doesn't look like the same guy and have the same
desire,
it seems, that as a guy, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Right.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see him say, I need a break and walk away from the situation. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you're Steve Kerr. Get a GM job, Get a upper management job. I mean, you love the game. You're still relevant. You have an opportunity now. You've had championships under your belt, so go out there and move up. Dealing with these players is not easy, man. It's a grind, and and the younger and younger players that come out, he's been lucky that they've scouted great players that work in his system.
Yeah.
But the problem is that you're asking a lot of your scouts to find a player that has the same mentality and same motivation.
I remember him being a finalist, I believe, for the Knicks job before Jackson hired Derek Fisher.
Oh, nice.
I think Fisher was flamed out here because he didn't have players. So
Fisher just got fired from the WNBA. So that just goes to show the tell two coaches, right?
Who got fired? I'm sorry.
Derek Fisher.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, he's a smart, intelligent person. He's very he's very he doesn't hold much back, but I believe that he would help a team in the upper management for sure, especially for ownership that doesn't have too much background in basketball. So
yeah, he could always go back to TV if Mark Jackson got a job. That'd be interesting, right? He took Mark Jackson's job. Mark Jackson went to TV. He could possibly go back to TV if Mark Jackson were to get a job. That'd be interesting. His name's come up a few times, by the way. And I know you. I think you have spoken his praises about this Golden State team before Kerr got there.
Yes.
Another guy who has never gotten another chance, which is surprising because he did very well with Golden State.
But to be honest with you, I'm sure he's gotten opportunity offers, but he's not that's a problem that people tend to forget, that even though some of these guys don't have jobs, I'm sure they're turning stuff down if the situation doesn't feel like it'll fit them.
Well, he seems to be, he's mentioned his interviewing for a lot of these jobs. He interviewed supposedly for the Sacramento job, and I got to believe he said no, they don't choose Mike Brown over Mark Jackson. I can't see how you do that, but
yeah, I mean, look, he should have been a coach at St. John's in New York, and that's my opinion. But they're not giving him that opportunity here. He might not even want it, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of things that go with that. But
well, after the failure of Chris Mullin, I don't know if they're going to go back to an alum anytime soon. But at least he's got coaching experience. Chris Mullin never had any coaching experience, and it was a horrible experiment because it never worked out well. So it's a make or break year. Not to change the subject, but St. John's has brought some good players in a transfer pool and in recruiting. And Mike Anderson doesn't get over the hump this year. Mike Anderson's probably going to be looking for a job as well.
Again, and to be honest with you, that would be a terrible move because Mike Anderson.
I like Mike Anderson a lot.
To pick up what the pieces that Mullen left, has done an extraordinary job, not just in coaching these kids, but recruiting. You know how tough it is to recruit people to come out here in Queens from New York. Like, imagine outside of New York how tough it is. And to recruit to a team that hasn't been that relevant, and, it's tough. So
interesting point here. I didn't read this. Alan says the Lakers are going to work out Shaq's son, Sharif. I don't know anything about Sharif. I don't know where he played basketball or if he did.
He was only averaging about 3 points a game where he was playing in college.
Yeah, where'd he go?
He did have a couple injuries. And
where'd he go to school?
Where did he go to school? I don't remember.
I mean, I would think he's going to be an undrafted free agent. He's not going to get drafted, right?
Right. I mean, hey, nepotism, sometimes it works, sometimes it don't, right?
Yeah. Before we run out of time, and we'll talk a lot of NHL on Sunday, so that's why I left it to the end. I want to touch on it, but I didn't think we need to spend a ton of time on it. Obviously, been a very exciting Stanley Cup playoff. The Avs are sitting there waiting. It's got to feel interminable for them. And we saw what the layoff did to the Lightning, too, at the start of this Rangers series. So they walk into the finals. I think whether who's their star player that got hurt? Now his name is escaping me. It's still doubtful. Oh, Kadri, whether he's going to be back for the final is still up in the air, and that may play into hugely into their chances. But before we get there, we got to finish this Lightning Ranger series. The Rangers get out to a huge start, 2-0, scored 9 goals in 2 games. They've lost the last 3. 2 of those games they were in a position to win, up 2-0 in Game 3. That was a turnaround. I said to Jim Beringer Sunday, I thought Game 3 was a huge game for the Rangers because when you got the champs down, you got to put your foot on their throat.
And that's the youth and the Rangers. Unfortunately, it's up when you're that young, you're up and down, right? And you're more likely to make mistakes. But the big thing I'm seeing is that Tampa Bay the Rangers have an opportunity to beat Tampa Bay. They just need to go out there and be young and be fast, right? And just shoot. They catch themselves sometimes just slowing down and that's to Tampa Bay's favor.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It is.
Because that goalie's not going to give up too many shots anyway. So,
and they've relied on the kids, the veterans. The veteran stars have done nothing. Panarin's been invisible through this entire Stanley Cup series, except for maybe 1 game, and that's hurt them a lot. Igor's played great, but this team scored 1 goal a game, 4 goals the last 3 games. You can't win that way.
And last night, Panarin looked like he was Panarin, like he was out flying, going around in circles, and that's like what you need from someone like him to set up goals or to even to take shots. But look, if you're going to go against Tampa Bay, who are the champions, you got to shoot the puck, man. Just keep shooting and go fast, because the Tampa Bay team, they're gonna wear you out because they have depth, and that's
and experience in these situations.
Yeah, players like McDonough who grind you out and on the board, check you and push you and try to get you out of the game, which I wish he did more of as a Ranger. He was, he's learned a lot being on Tampa Bay. Like those kind of guys, they have and they have other players behind them, that are on the third and fourth line that are just as tough as McDonough. So it's like, if you're young and fast, you have to be young and fast and just take shots and give shots, hit people. In the first two periods, they were on the game, right? You thought that they were going to at least win the game because they were playing like they were up 3-0 at least, but there was no score. It was 0-0 the first two periods. So you're like, so the things that they were missing, the things that they're missing the most right now is points. You got to shoot the puck, and you can't just you're not going to have like great setups. You're not going to have that opportunity all the time, especially on a team like Tampa Bay. So stop trying to set up a goal and just shoot at the goal. That's my opinion. And
yeah. And game 3 and 5 ended almost like overtime games in a way because they scored so late. With inside 2 minutes, I think both games they got the game winners. And
that's what Tampa Bay wants to do. They want to just wear you out, wear you down, because they know that the goalkeeper he's suspect on on the top end of his game, but he's still consistent enough to stop shots that are.
He's one of the best in the game. He didn't play well the first 2 games, but Vasilevsky is playing like he can play these last 4 games for sure. It's last 3 games anyway, for sure.
Like if you saw that shot, that Lindgren shot that went, and it's almost the same shot that they've scored on the last 2 games, top shoulder.
Yeah.
He was looking away because there's so many people in front of him. He's got a couple. Ways that you can score on them. But again, if you don't shoot, you're not going to score. So you got to be like Gretzky. The only shot you make.
It's funny. Last night I'm watching this game 5, and when it ended, it's funny. I felt so many game 5s. We talked about Pat Riley and the Knicks earlier. There were so many game 5s in those Chicago series that were the key games of the series, right? Mm-hmm. You won that game. You were in a position to win the series. And this game felt so much like all those game 5s I watched the Knicks and Chicago play. It felt like 100. And there's probably only 2 or 3 of them, but it felt like there was a ton of them. It felt like I watching Charles Smith. If you remember the game, Charles Smith had like 5 shots at the basket at the end, where they had a chance to knock them off in game 5 and take control of the series. And that's what this game felt like. They couldn't get over the hump. But the Rangers have thrived in the position that they're in now. So
Heidel, Capo line, those 2 guys haven't been in the last 2 games as far as like I wouldn't say present, but they haven't been like pushing the puck and shooting as much, trying to get each other going. And I feel like if they don't do that in the next 2 games, there's no chance for this. That young line has to come up big.
1 game.
In the next game, right?
Don't worry about 2 games.
Right. In the next game, if they don't come up, okay, like Boston and like any team that's young, you got to use your skills to your advantage. You're young and you're fast. Use it. If you don't use it, then you're not gonna look for the next game. You're gonna be sitting on the bench, and then you're gonna learn from that, and that's how you get experience, right?
Well, it's going to be interesting. Game 6 tomorrow night in Tampa Bay.
Oh, gosh.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I think I lost a few hairs on that game last night.
It was awful. But
it was bad.
All right, Carl, it's been a great hour. I appreciate your coming in and your insights. And even though you're wrong about Deshaun Watson, but that's great. So.
No, he's not a good dude. He's not a great dude, but he's still an NFL player dude. So
he is not a good guy. So, guys, thanks for tuning in today. For Carlos, the Mad New Yorker, Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talks. Are you serious? Right here on Northeast Streaming Sports. We'll see you next Friday. Have a great day. Bye-bye.